Hey everyone, Harry here to talk about the case that may well become the vehicle for resolving the question of Trump's invocation of the Alien Enemies Act. So we're talking about the issues that have been swirling around the country for several months and have gone to multiple districts. In essence, did Trump lawfully invoke the Alien Enemies Act by asserting that members of Tren de Aragua are tantamount to either an invading army of a foreign nation themselves or somehow are doing the bidding of the Venezuelan government, because the Alien Enemies Act, which he invoked, remember, this is the statute that's only been invoked a few times in our history, last time World War II, is reserved for instances in which there's actually an invasion by a country. Is this ringing a bell? Lots happened in the last several weeks, but this is the 1798 statute. We were worried then that France might literally invade us. So this statute says, in the event somebody does invade, you can kick their citizens out of the country. And also, if there is the equivalent of a predatory incursion by a foreign country. And that's the leg of the statute Trump has seized on. And to say this is, it seems fanciful to call this somehow an invasion by Venezuela or by gang members, because even if Trump were accurate, many of them are in the country, he says, committing crimes. So what in terms of the source of authority under the statute? Does that make them equivalent of an invading foreign country? All right, now this case, the sort of second big point to emphasize, it is in the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. And in fact, there's going to be a hearing in the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals on it today. The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, the Fifth Circuit make the antenna of all Supreme Court watchers really buzz, because the Fifth Circuit is the most conservative court in the country by a long shot, and they're the court, in fact, that the Supreme Court has had to discipline again and again and again for their crazy, outlandish, and very pro-Trump or very conservative rulings. They are just stocked with judges who hold views that are way out of the mainstream and are unabashed about pressing an agenda to try to pull things right, that is, in the conservative direction. They now have this case. How they got it is a little bit unusual and worth noting. So there were already been rulings in different districts around the country saying his invocation of the AA is completely lawless. But at that point, the ACLU got word that there was supposedly a number of undocumented immigrants who were being rounded up in Abilene, Texas, after getting the piece of paper that said in English, you are hereby notified that you're going to be deported, and no information about notice or anything of the like. So that was, remember how the Trump administration, in its first foray was behaving. So there were these other cases out there. This really goes to why the ruling from last Friday about nationwide injunctions is so potentially worrisome. You had many rulings here already, but the administration thought it would ply its fortunes in the Northern District of Texas, and notwithstanding the thrust of cases which had not imposed nationwide injunctions, they said, okay, we'll do this in Texas. At which point, it was in Abilene, and the ACLU got word of what was going on. They filed emergency petitions in the district court, and when the court didn't act quickly, in the Fifth Circuit, and then even the Supreme Court, which you can do when something is in the Fifth Circuit. And this was the case in which the Supreme Court said one of the two. Here was the 7-2 vote with Alito and Thomas dissenting, saying, don't deport these guys. Fifth Circuit, you figure out what's going on. And we're giving orders that they are not to be deported unless and until the Fifth Circuit rules, and we, the Supreme Court, either rule or decline to rule and deny cert. So that was the state of play in the Fifth Circuit. And the Supreme Court reaffirmed that in another quick procedural ruling. This is in the Fifth Circuit. Okay. But the way it had gone and the district court's failure to act means the case had jumped to the Fifth Circuit quickly, more quickly than other cases had jumped to their own courts of appeals. So when you put that together, you have a really conservative court that I think we can expect to go as conservative as the courts will. And the most worrisome scenario is holding something like we the judiciary, simply can't second guess the executive. If Trump says it's raining and it's sunny, well, then it's raining. And if Trump says these are the equivalent of an invading foreign country, well, they are, and we just can't touch it. That would be the maximum deference position, and the one that is very worrisome and could lead to all kinds of similar invocations of emergency powers that then wouldn't be reviewed. I think we can expect the Fifth Circuit to do something like that, at least if any court will, it's that court. And then it gets served up to the Supreme Court. So it seems to me this one is on a faster track than others to actually go to the merits in the Supreme Court on the question, did Trump, and these were the questions, by the way, the court told the Fifth Circuit to consider, did Trump properly invoke the Alien Enemies Act? In other words, is there a insurrection or the equivalent of an invasion by a foreign country? And did the administration give the potential deportees enough time and notice, and what must that be? So I think we have the vehicle that now is closest to the court and will serve it up. And this is just what, of course, the court is insisting on. We get to decide on these issues, and their decision, on the one hand, it's fraught. If they give a measure of deference to Trump, that I think is dangerous in this case, but also across the board. But their indications are this is the one place they have held the line, 7-2 in this case, 9-0 in another. So you could well have, or people who are following this closely are kind of girded for the following. Fifth Circuit hears the case today. Fifth Circuit comes out with a order basically letting Trump run riot with no review. The ACLU seeks emergency review in the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court has teed up for it in a way it hasn't so far. All of this stuff has been procedural. Do you get temporary relief or not? This would be the Supreme Court has teed up for it on the merits, the question of Trump's invocation of the Alien Enemies Act and the question of how much notice deportees have to get, and the overriding question there, which is going to figure in other cases as well, the degree of deference that the administration gets to make these determinations, and for Trump to say it's an insurrection when it isn't, or it's Tuesday when it's Wednesday. That kind of deference is, I think, the clearest and most dangerous path to authoritarianism here, as abetted by the Supreme Court, this a legalistic model, and it makes this case nail-biting and well worth watching. So, Fifth Circuit next, and then likely this is the first one to get to the Supreme Court. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.